Krishna is utterly incomparable. He is unique. Firstly, his uniqueness lies in the fact that although Krishna lived in the ancient past, he belongs to the future, is really of the future. Man has yet to grow to that height where he can be a contemporary of Krishna. He is still beyond man's understanding. He continues to puzzle and defeat us. Only in some future time will we be able to understand him and appreciate his virtues. There are good reasons for this. The most important reason is that Krishna is the only great man in our whole history who reached the absolute height and depth of religion and yet is not at all serious and sad, not in tears. Generally, the chief characteristic of a religious person has been that he is somber, serious, and sad looking, like one defeated in the battle of life, like a renegade from life. In the long line of such sages, Krishna alone comes dancing, singing, and laughing. Religions of the past were all life denying and masochistic, extolling sorrow and suffering as great virtues. If you set aside Krishna's vision of religion, then every religion of the past presented a sad and sorrowful face. A laughing religion, a religion that accepts life in its totality, is yet to be born. It is good that the old religions are dead and that along with them the old God, the God of our old concepts, is dead too. It is said of Jesus that he never laughed. Perhaps his sad look and the picture of his physical form on the cross became a focal point that attracts unhappy and miserable people. In a deep sense, Mahavira and Buddha are against life too. They are in favor of some other life in some other world. They support a kind of liberation from this life. Every religion up to now has divided life into two parts, and while they accept one part, they deny the other. Krishna alone accepts the whole of life. Acceptance of life in its totality has attained full fruition in Krishna. That is why India held him to be a perfect incarnation of God. While all other incarnations were considered imperfect and incomplete, even Rama is described as an incomplete incarnation of God. But Krishna is the whole of God. And there is a reason for saying so. The reason is that Krishna has accepted and absorbed everything that life is. Albert Schweitzer made a significant remark in criticism of Indian religion. He said that the religion of this country is life negative. This remark is correct to a large extent if Krishna is left out, but it is utterly wrong in the context of Krishna. If Schweitzer had tried to understand Krishna, he would never have said so. But it was unfortunate that we did not allow Krishna to influence our lives in a broad way. He remains a lonely dancing island in the vast ocean of sorrow and misery that is our life. Or we can say he is a small oasis of joyous dancing and celebration in the huge desert of sadness and negativity, of suppression and condemnation that we really are. Krishna could not influence the whole spectrum of our lives, and we are alone to blame. Krishna is not in the least responsible for it. We are not that worthy, that deserving to have him, to imbibe him, to absorb him. Up to now, man's mind has thought of and looked at life in fragments and thought dialectically. The religious man denies the body and accepts the soul. And what is worse, he creates a conflict, a dichotomy between the body and spirit. He denies this world, he accepts the other world, and thus creates a state of hostility between the two. Naturally, our lives will be sad and miserable if we deny the body, because all our lives' juice, its health and vitality, sensitivity and beauty and music has its source in the body. So a religion that denies and denounces the body is bound to be a feeble and ill. It has to be a mediocre. Such a religion will be as pale and lifeless as a dry leaf fallen from a tree. And the people who follow such a religion, who allow themselves to be influenced and conditioned by it, will be as frail and prone to death as these leaves are. Krishna alone accepts the body in its totality. He accepts it not in any selected dimension but in all its dimensions. Zarathustra is another. It is said he was born laughing. Every child enters this world crying. Only one child in all of history laughed at the time of his birth, and that was Zarathustra. And this is an indication of the fact that a happy and laughing humanity is yet to be born. And only a joyful and laughing humanity can accept Krishna. Krishna has a great future. After Freud, the world of religion is not going to be the same as it was before him. Freud stands as a milestone between the religions of the past and the religion of the future. With Freud, a great revolution has taken place, and man's consciousness has achieved a breakthrough. We shall never be the same again after Freud. A new peak of consciousness has been touched, and a new understanding, an altogether new perspective, a new vision of life has come into being, and it is essential to understand it rightly. The old religions taught suppression as the way to godliness. Man was asked to suppress everything, his sex, anger, greed, and attachments, and then alone would he find his soul and attain godliness. This war of man against himself has continued long enough, and in the thousands of years of this war, barely a handful of people whose names can be counted on one's fingers can be said to have found godliness. So, in a sense, we lost this war because down the centuries, billions of people died without finding their souls, without meeting the divine within. Undoubtedly, there must be some basic flaw, some fundamental mistake in the very foundation of these religions. It is as if a gardener has planted 50,000 trees and out of them only one tree flowers, and yet we accept his scripture on gardening on the plea that at least one tree has blossomed. But we fail to consider that this single tree might have been an exception to the rule, that it might have blossomed not because of the gardener but despite him. The rest of the 50,000 trees, those that remained stunted and barren, are enough proof the gardener was not worth his salt. If a Buddha, a Mahavira, or a Christ attains godliness despite these fragmentary and conflict-ridden religions, it is not testimony to the success of this religion as such. The success of religion, or let us say the success of the gardener, should be acclaimed only when all 50,000 trees of his garden, except for one or two, achieve flowering. Then the blame could be laid at the foot of the one tree for its failure to bloom. Then it could be said that this tree remained stunted and barren despite the gardener. With Freud, a new kind of awareness has dawned on man, that suppression is wrong and brings nothing but self-pity and anguish. If a man fights with himself, he can only ruin and destroy himself. If I make my left hand fight with my right hand, neither will win, but the contest will destroy me. While my two hands fight with themselves, I and I alone will be destroyed in the process. That is how, through denial and suppression of his natural instincts and emotions, man becomes suicidal and killed himself. Krishna alone seems to be relevant to the new awareness, to the new understanding that came to man in the wake of Freud and his findings. It is so because in the whole history of the old humanity, Krishna alone is against repression. He accepts life in all its facets, in all its climates and colors. He alone does not choose. He accepts life unconditionally. He does not shun love. Being a man, he does not run away from women. As one who has known and experienced godliness, He does not turn his face from war. He is full of love and compassion. Yet he has the courage to accept and fight a war. His heart is utterly non-violent. Yet he plunges into the fire and fury of violence when it becomes unavoidable. He accepts the nectar and yet he is not afraid of poison.